Okay, up next is our six-time NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion, Jimmie Johnson. And he drives the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. Jimmie, coming to Pocono Raceway. We've got 6 to go before we establish the chase grid. Just talk about your outlook for this weekend.
Excited to be back. We had a very strong car here a couple months ago. And even with a mistake on pit road and the collision with the 9 car, we still had a shot to win the race in very, very fast race cars. So excited to come back. Clearly, when we come here, we hope the weather cooperates, and I know there's some threatening weather out there. So keep our fingers crossed and hopefully get everything in we need to.
Thank you, Jimmie. We'll take questions. We'll start right now with Claire B. Lang on the far right corner down here. Zachary? Go ahead, Claire.
Got it. Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Greg Ives sat on your pit box for quite a while. You celebrated championships with him. What's your take on Greg Ives being the crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr., and how would you describe him and his progression?
First and foremost, I'm really excited for him, and feel that the dynamic in the race shop is going to be a good one. Obviously, we're very concerned about Steve's departure and who that individual is that comes in, and that there's good energy and a good bond between the 48 and the 88. It's going to be hard to recreate the magic we've had, Steve and Chad, to kind of take on different roles. And in a sense, it's kind of been the good cop, bad cop in our shop, where Chad will whip on the guys and Steve, he'll come by and smooth it out when it's over. But our shop works very well together, and to protect that environment, there was a very short list of guys to take over the 88 car crew chief role, and I was hopeful it would go Greg's way, and very happy that it did. He's worked very hard to develop as a crew chief, an individual. He's left and been a crew chief, obviously, on Junior's nationwide programs. And if you look at his stats and what he has accomplished there as a crew chief, you can say definitely he's earned this opportunity. So very, very happy for Greg and his family, and I look forward to seeing him more on a daily basis. I went through so many years seeing him all the time and being such an integral part of finding speed in our race cars, and it's going to be nice to see him a lot more often now.
Gentleman right here in the middle, Jimmie. Go ahead.
Jimmie, Kyle Magda for the Times leader in Wilkes-Barre. You haven't had the best of luck since the win at Michigan in June. How has the 48 team stacked up performance-wise, let's say, to your teammates at Hendrick Motorsports and also the Penske and the Gibbs cars?
So much of it depends on the track, and that's really the most interesting thing. Is I look back over this year and the rules package change and where things are at. You expect the Penske car to be fast, you expect the Gibbs car to be fast, you expect the Hendrick car to be fast, but it's not consistent at every track everywhere we go. And you look at the speed the 2 had at Loudon, you look at the speed the 24 had at Indy. Each team seems to hit on something at a particular track and can light it up, but to take it week to week, track to track is tough. And I feel that we've been very competitive at a fair amount of the tracks, and then go to Indy, and we just didn't have it at Indy. So it's been a little inconsistent, I think, per team and then also per organization. We have had some bad luck. I feel like at Daytona we would have been, been somebody there to consider for a win. I feel at New Hampshire, I was very optimistic about my day, but after watching things and how they turned out, I would have been racing for second the way it looked. But we can always be better, and we certainly want to be better. And I would say speed is a priority, but also consistent speed to all types of tracks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Let's go over here to the right here. Raise your hand. Nate, Zachary, if you could get him a mic. Thank you.
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. Jimmie, with the 11 penalty and Darian Grubb being out, there's been talk about the impact of a crew chief suspension on a race team. You've been in that position before, and you actually won a couple of races with Darian in 06 when Chad was out. What's it like, I guess, the impact on the team, not having the crew chief there? Is it maybe not as big as people might imagine? And I guess that stretch in 06 where you were able to reel off some wins after Daytona with Darian, what was that like?
No, it's huge not having your crew chief there. And the fact that we won without Chad at the track is pretty amazing, to be honest. And the first portion of the suspension and first week or two, it's real tough on the morale. It's real tough on everywhere you go. You're answering the questions today with social media. If you ever tune in, when you're in that situation, you're going to see a lot of stuff you don't want to see. So there's an emotional piece in the beginning that's really tough. And then you can't wait for the first weekend's practice to start and to figure out how you're going to work through this, and what kind of speed the car will have, how the team will perform. And you really have to fall back on, the crew chief has to fall back on the team that he has assembled. And Chad, being as buttoned up as he is, has always had depth in our organization. And our engineers have always been very qualified down through our mechanics. And we've been able to pick up that slack and win in those situations. But I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It is such a difficult thing to go through, and it also just shows in the sport that it doesn't matter team, organization, car, driver, everybody's going to go through some of these bumps in their career. It just happens.
In those times when Chad's been absent, has he been almost as involved, like via instant messaging, communication, email, that sort of thing? Even though he's not on the track, is he still?
Yeah, you're able to do those things and text and make phone calls and send emails and watch on television and tune into some of the things our fans use with FanScan and NASCAR app and all that kind of stuff just to get as many inputs coming in. But the element of truly having a conversation with someone and understanding, how tight the car might be or how uncomfortable you might be, that element is so vital in our sport. And when somebody's in North Carolina and the others are at the track, it's impossible to get that kind of pulled together.
We're going to take 4 more questions. We're going to go Al. We're going to go a man over here, gentleman in the orange, and then end with Kelly. Go ahead.
Hey, Jimmy, Al Pearson, Auto Week. Just a real quick off-track question. At age 18, if money had been no object, what was the first car you would have bought as a kid?
18, it probably would have been an off-road trophy truck or something. I would have bought a race car. There's no way I would have bought a street car. Maybe an Indy car, because that was a big focus for me back then, but definitely a race car.
Now, at a time in your life when money probably is no object, what car would you still like to have?
I haven't even thought about it, man. I've got a wife and 2 daughters, and they like shoes, so I haven't even thought about it.
Let's go to the gentleman over here. Raise your hand, sir. Kind of hidden there. We'll take him. Gentleman, is it Zach? And then we'll take Kelly, and we'll be done. Go ahead.
Joseph Wilkins, Speedway Digest. You've had some bad luck over the past 3 races. Last year you had a similar stretch at the same time, and you finished the chase with a top 10 every race but one. What do you guys need to improve on heading down the home stretch?
It's no secret that the middle portion of the year has always been a challenge for the 48. When you look at the start of the season and the end of the season, a lot of those tracks are similar. Or the same, I should say, the same venues that we go to. So that has, especially in the chase era, has really worked to our advantage. And the summer stretch, it's been tough on us. It always has been. There are years that we make it through a little smoother than others. This year has been as inconsistent as probably any of them for us. So I certainly want to stop that and start here with a very smooth weekend and successful weekend and carry that on through the Glen, and I think of Bristol's out there. That's a tough track for us. There's still a few challenges ahead, but literally when the chase starts, we roll into our 10 best tracks. So we're trying to maintain sanity until then, and obviously keep progressing our cars through the end of summer.
Go ahead, Zach, and then we'll finish with Kelly.
Zach Cherniel from the Pocono Record. You kind of touched on it earlier that Indy didn't go like you guys had hoped. The 24 and the 5 were obviously up front most of the day. You and Junior weren't as prominent. Were you able to figure out what exactly had happened there, and just how do you feel going into this weekend after that week?
Yeah, when a weekend's over, it's easy to go back and look at car setups and try to find some rhyme or reason why another car had speed. We were definitely trying to maximize our package from an aero standpoint, and looking back, that's not kind of the direction our teammates, the 5 and 24, went. So, when the weekend's over, it's easy to sit back and kind of analyze things. But, we've built speed in our cars and have won races and championships by a certain mindset, and it's not been by looking and digging through others' information and looking over our shoulder what somebody else is doing. It's always about pushing technology and trying to find an advantage. And at times, especially with single car speed, we were the fastest in all the practice sessions. So that kind of sucked us in, thinking we had a fast car. It would run one fast lap, and then unfortunately dropped off too much after that. So we'll make notes and go back to Indy next year and try not to make that mistake again.
We'll go with Kelly and actually have a bonus question from our local affiliate right here. Go ahead, Kelly.
Kelly Crandall, Popular Speed. Jimmie, this is a little bit different. When you came into Hendrick, Ray Evernham had already moved on and was doing his own thing with Dodge. But I'm just curious, now that he's back more hands-on with the company, what, if anything, has he been able to contribute to the organization as a whole?
Yeah, it's he does. For me, it's kind of twofold. One, I love to be around him, and as I was aspiring to race in NASCAR and watched what he and Jeff put together, I just wanted to get to know the guy and want to understand how his mind worked, and I have that opportunity now, and now he spends a lot of time, kind of at a higher elevation looking at our whole program. And sometimes things that are so obvious to a race team, they don't cross our mind. And it's nice to have somebody with true racing experience and success to stand back and kind of look globally at your program and give advice. And then we've also gone to him as an individual team and have leaned on him for his knowledge and points of view and stuff like that. So it's great having him around. And even fun, like last week we had a big luncheon at Hendrick, and the shop that he won, I think, 3 of the championships in is where our team center is now. And hear a story about why his office was where it was and where the setup plate for the cars were, so he could sit at his desk and work and look down on the shop and keep an eye on everybody, make sure nobody was slacking off and the cars were progressing. So just to go back through memory lane and see how all that works is pretty cool.
Take the gentleman here, right here in front of you, Zach. And then actually we have one from Marty Smith.
You sound like a photographer. They all say one more, and you take like 3 or 4 more.
I know, and sometimes you regret that, but that's okay.
It's okay.
We'll finish
I'm here
with
for you,
Marty.
bud. Whatever
I know
need.
you are.
Okay.
That's why you're a 6-time champion. Go ahead.
Chris Goy, Channel 13 News in Hazleton. What's your favorite thing about racing, or even racing on the Tricky Triangle?
For me, the speed factor in a race car or motorcycle, whatever I've grown up, competing in, that's been cool. But there's something about competition that I've enjoyed, and I've always been a better racer than anything. And trying to figure out how to pass someone or get by someone, there's something in that just gets me going. So it's I always race better than I qualify and things like that. And there's something to all that. My real passion is competing.
Final question, far left, from Marty Smith.
Marty Smith, ESPN. Johnson, what do you think the impact on Jeff Gordon, what do you think that Brickyard 400 victory is for him? What's the impact on him to have achieved that now?
For him personally, or the sport?
For him.
For him?
Yeah.
Man, it's first of all, it's huge. 20 years later, the meaning behind that for him is massive. Seeing him and going to victory lane and talking to Ingrid, seeing his kids there, that family piece, and being able to celebrate such a massive win in his home state essentially. So I think emotionally there were a lot of things that worked for him personally and felt good for him personally with that victory. Then you get on the professional side, you win at one of the most difficult tracks, dominating fashion, all those things. It's just giving he and that 24 team a ton of momentum rolling forward. The chase is right around the corner.
Jimmie, thank you very much. Good luck this weekend at Pocono.